Hi everybody, this is Shawna Audet from the Flying Cat Academy. Welcome to lesson number 1. In this lesson, the student will learn the drills. They will learn the difference between a consonant and a vowel. They will work on the primary consonants and we'll have a focus on the letter and sound of S. So let's get started. The first part of the lesson happens before the student even enters the room because we have to set up the table. So let's do that now. I'm going to set up the table from left to right. You'll need the sight word study method sheets first, and we'll put those in the top left corner. You'll have the top 160 words, and also the sheet that gives you the instructions on how to do the sight word study method drill. It's the dark sheet. Next, we'll put the short vowel drill sheets. You will have the instruction sheet for the teacher, and then there'll be these keyword pictures where there's one that looks like an apple, and then there's one that kind of looks like an E. And then we'll have itchy, which is a weird looking eye, one that looks like an olive, and then one that's an arrow for up. And there'll also be 2 sheets for keyword. It's like a sentence to remember the different short vowel sounds, and the student can choose from the 2 different pictures. We'll move on to the phonemic awareness drill instruction sheet. And following that, you'll have 2 sheets together for the visual drill and the auditory drill. Then comes the blending drill. We'll have 2 sheets for the magnetic letter tile drill for reading, and there's also a magnetic letter tile drill instruction sheet for writing. And then finally, we'll have the syllable pounding sheet and the kinesthetic method for how to teach a new sound. For supplies, we'll start with what you need for the sight word study method. You'll have the yellow highlighter, a couple of markers, and some index cards. For the short vowel drill, you'll need those pictures with the apple, Eddie, itchy, olive, and up, and you'll need the 2 sheets that give you the sentences that help to remember the short vowel sounds. For the phonemic awareness drill, you'll have some kind of colored blocks or tiles. And then for the visual and auditory drill, you'll use the same card pack for both of those drills. And the initial card pack has A to Z, all the consonants and the vowels. Then we come to the blending drill, and this is where you use your little paper letter cards. You'll look on your lesson plan and find blending drill, and then you're going to set the cards up in order so that we're ready to take 1 letter off each time we change the word for the student. Now, moving on to the magnetic letter tile drill for reading and writing, we're going to use a cookie sheet and on which we'll place magnetic letter tiles. The cookie sheet's great because it'll hold the letters for you so they'll stay in the shape, and you'll place them in a U shape. If you want a low-tech version of this, just use those paper tiles right there that we use for SAT, and you could have a second set that you've reduced in size, and from a paper store you can just get magnetic backing that will turn it into a magnet. And if you go that route, make sure that you take the letters that are the vowels and make them visible to the student in some way, maybe by changing the color like I did on the A-E-I-O-U there. You'll get your pencils and you'll have your teacher lesson plan, and then you are ready to go. So let's get started with lesson number 1. The first thing I'm going to teach you is how to use the sight word study method. Sight words are words that either don't play fair by the phonics rules, so we can't sound them out, or they're just very common words that we need to know right away before we've learned about their syllable type. Here's the most common word in English. And to do the method, first of all, I'd say, can you read the word? And if you read the word, that's great. I'm going to teach everybody how to use a sight word study method, so we'll assume that you couldn't read the word. I would say, first of all, tap under each letter. We're going to take 2 fingers and we're going to say T-H-E, and then we're going to underline it and say the. Now you try. And you do it twice. T-H-E, the. Good. The next step is we're going to take the back of a pencil or marker, whatever you have, and we're going to trace and do the exact same thing. We'll go T-H-E, the. T, H, E, the. Now it's your turn. In the next step, you're going to take 2 fingers, and on the table, you're going to trace the letters T, H, E, and then underline it and say the. And do it twice. And now you're going to tap like karate chop down your arm as you say the letters T, H, E, the. T, H, E, the. Your turn. And the last step is now it's your turn to write down the word. Let's see if you can do it. Let's go on to our next sight word. Here it is. Can you read this one? Give it a try. If you were incorrect, then teacher says, this word is of, as in, how many of the cookies are still on the table? Let's do the sight word study method to learn it. O-F, of. O-F, of. Your turn. And when you're finished, we're going to trace it with the back of your pencil. You say O-F, of. O-F, of. Your turn. Now you're going to take 2 fingers and trace on the table as you do this. O-F, of. O-F, of. And then down your arm. O-F, of. O-F, of. Good, now it's time to write it. So it'll probably take about 5 minutes to do sight words during the lesson. We want to make sure that the student can read the sight word and write the sight word. And this is just a note for teachers. On your master sheet where it says 160 sight words, you're going to circle in pencil the words that the student is working on. And when the student has mastered the words, meaning that they have mastered the ability to read the word as well as write the word, then you will highlight the word and it leaves the rotation. The next drill is called the short vowel drill, and it's a way for us to become experts on the short sounds of the vowels. We take 2 fingers and we trace and we say apple, ah, apple, ah. And we do this 5 times. Apple, ah, apple, ah, apple, ah. And ah is making the sound for the short sound of A. Then we move on to our next page. Which is Eddie. And we start in the middle with 2 fingers. We do 2 fingers because then we're activating 2 different brain pathways. So we say Eddie, eh, Eddie, eh, 5 times. Eddie, eh, Eddie, eh, Eddie, eh. And you can see that Eddie looks like what it is because it looks like the letter E. See how that looks like an E right there? Let's go on to the next one. The next keyword is itchy. So we're going to start at the bottom and we're going to trace it and we'll say itchy, I. And let's do that 5 times. Itchy, I. Itchy, I. Itchy, I. Itchy, I. Good job. Okay, and that's for the sound of I. Our next one is olive, which is the sound for short O. We're going to start here and we'll go olive, ah, olive, ah, olive, ah, olive, ah, olive, ah. Okay, last one. This is a sound for short U. And we're going to go up, 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 up. Last one. Up, up. Good job. And then we have a sentence that helps us remember all the sounds of the short vowels. We say, the sentence is sad Ed did not run. We're going to stretch out the short vowels as we do this. So the sounds will be sad. Do you hear how that apple sound is really stretched out? Sad Ed did not run. And that's your apple, Eddie, itchy, olive, and up sound for all the short vowels. I wonder why Ed is sad. I wonder why I didn't want to run. Now, you have a choice here. You could use this one as your keyword sentence to remember the short vowel sounds, or I've got another one. You could use this one instead if you like. This is one that I learned from the Dyslexia Training Institute. They had fat Ed is not up. And I thought he could be a cute little fat baby. And he's not up because he's sleeping, but then in a way he is up because he's on the moon. So you can decide which sentence you want to use as your keyword sentence. Fat, really stretch it out with me. 1, 2, 3, here we go. Fat Ed is not up. Great job. That's our short vowel drill. We're moving on to the phonemic awareness drill. For this drill, you're going to need your little colored tiles. So pull them out now. We start off and the teacher says a word. So let's just do an example. I'll say your word is at. And student, you're going to repeat the word. At. Okay, we ask you to repeat the word just to make sure that you heard the word correctly. And now I'll say, can you build the word at with your tiles? I'll do the first one with you. So what sounds are you hearing in at? I hear a and t. And now I'm going to ask you to take 2 fingers and tap it and say it. We're going to tap under each color block and say the sounds of at. At. And then we'll underline it and say the whole word. At. Good job. And now we're going to fool around with the different sounds that we can add or delete. I'm going to ask you to add a sound to the front of at. The sound is s. So take a colored tile, a different color, and add it to the front. And if we add s to the front of at, what do we end up with? So tap it, say it. And your teacher can guide you through that. When you're finished, let's find the s in sat. Can you put your finger on it? Okay. Now I'd like you to change s into a by changing the color that started off that word. So s is going to change into a So change the color tile and now tap it, say it. At. Underline it, say the whole thing, and what do you get? And your teacher can correct you if needed. So we had mat there. I'd like you to find the t in mat. You can do this by tapping each sound until you get to the t. Did you find it? Now take away the t in mat. And in its place, I want you to add a p. What would you have now? Tap it, say it. Did you get map? Good job if you did. So if that's map, what would happen if I change the in map to a p? Now when you do this, notice that you're going to end up with 2 p sounds. So you'll have to use the same color for this when you're using p. Okay, say the word you get, tap it, say it. And your teacher will correct you if needed. And now we're going to change the ah. So can you find the ah in pap? And you're going to change it to an eh. Now tap it, say it. Did you get pep? Great job. And find the eh in pep and change it to an Tap it, say it. What's the new word? Did you get pup? Good job if you did. And let's change the first p in pup to a What would you get then? Won't be a real word. Tap it, say it. Did you get rup? Good. And let's turn it into a real word to finish. So rup, let's find the p in rup and change the p to a b. And what do you get? Tap it, say it. Did you end on rub? If you did, terrific. And that's the phonemic awareness drill. So you can put your little tiles away now. Let's move on to the visual drill. This is where you use the card pack. And you say to the student, can you name this letter and tell me the sound that it makes? And the student would say, A, ah. We're only going to name the short vowel sounds at this time. How about this one? Name the letter and tell me the sound that it makes. And teacher, you can correct if needed. How about this one? If the student has trouble with the name or the sound, the teacher helps. And for this one, you can use the keyword Eddie, and that'll help them remember. How about this one? We want the letter name and the sound. And the teacher will help to correct. And how about this one? What's the name and sound of this one? And how about this one? And that's the visual drill. Well done. Now let's move on to the auditory drill, which uses the same pack. We're going to work on the sound N. Can you repeat that sound? Okay, and teacher will correct if needed. I'd like you to write the symbol that goes with the sound N. So can you take a pencil and a paper and do that right now? I want you to write down the symbol and then underline it and say the sound N. And your teacher can correct you. How'd you do? Let's try another one. So I look in my card pack and I find a new one. Here it is. P. Can you repeat that sound? Okay, what symbol goes with P? Write it down now and then underline it and say P. And your teacher can correct you. Let's try another one. Did you get that one right? How about S? Can you say that sound? And what symbol goes with S? Write it down, and after you write it down on your paper, underline it and say the sound again. Did you get this one? That's the only one that I'd expect you to know right now. If you know another one, that's great, but you don't have to. And one more. How about, let's see. Ah. Can you repeat that one? Ah. Okay, what symbol goes with ah? Write it down and then underline it and say the sound again. And we'll check to see if you got it right. Ready? How'd you do? Okay, that is the auditory drill. Let's move on to the blending drill. For the blending drill, you use the little paper cards. And they're all set up there so that there's an S, an A, and a T in front of you. This is a situation where we're going to tap it and say it. So you take 2 fingers and you tap under each card and you say the sound the letter makes. And then you underline it from left to right and you blend the sounds to say the whole word together. I'm going to have the video playing, but I'd like you to use your own cards so that they're right in front of you and you're actually tapping on the card. Let's try it right now. Now we're going to focus on a special consonant of the day. Not a vowel, so this will not be an apple, Eddie, itchy, olive, or up sound. It'll be one of the other ones. So a special consonant. I'm going to read from a list of words, and every single word on the list is going to have this special consonant sound in it. I want you to listen very carefully. Look at my lips and mouth and how that's working, and that might give you a clue too to what the special sound is, because you'll see it in every word and you'll hear it in every word. Here we go. Sat, sap, sass, tass, san, sam. Tell your teacher what sound you heard in every single word. Did you guess S? If you did, you're right. Today we're going to work on S. S. Now your teacher is going to give you the sheet that has those words on it. And what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to take out your very favorite color, and I'd like you to circle all of the letter S's that you see on that piece of paper. Now don't you read those words, it's not time to do that. All I want you to do is just circle the S's. Can you find them? Let's do it right now. So you can pause the video and then come back to me. Let's think about how we're making the sound when we say S. What are the different things that can be involved when we make any sound? Well, our lips could be involved. Maybe they could be closed or open. What happens when we say S? And you can look at my mouth. Are our lips open like when we say or somewhere in between? S. This feels a little tight here, but they are open. S. What's our tongue doing when we make that sound? Try it out and talk about it with your teacher. S. And then think about, there's our vocal cords that could be involved down here. Sometimes a sound can make them tremble. We call that a motor on sound. And sometimes they're just still, no sound at all. So let's try making S. Is that still with your vocal cords or are they moving? S. If we want to find out, let's compare. So let's make a really strong motor on sound like the V in violin. Can you say V as in violin right now? V, and you can really feel them vibrating when you do that. Now let's go back and say S. Can you feel the difference now? S is a motor off sound. So our vocal cords are not vibrating when we make that sound. But when we make violin, they really vibrate. So talk to your teacher right now. Where's your tongue in your mouth when you're making S? Is it at the bottom, kind of in the middle? Is it at the top? Is it touching your teeth? It's a motor off sound. S, and our lips are a little bit open. Right now, take a moment and compare the sounds of V and S and feel how they feel different. Watch your teacher making the sound, and then you make the sound, and your teacher will watch you. Do that now and then come back to me. Our tongue can really change the sound. Let's try some different sounds and focus on how our tongue moves all around our mouth. Before we even do that, just try and move your tongue in your mouth and see all the different ways it can go. Can really move around, can it? Where is it when we say S? And now change it into a F, like flower. F, and change it back to us and feel your tongue change. S, F, S. How about as in mat? So interesting, isn't it? So what have we learned so far about S? We learned that the vocal cords don't tremble. We know that our tongue is at the front of our mouth. S. And we know that our lips are a little bit open. Great job. For the last thing, we're going to make a card to help us remember the sound of S. So take out an index card and a marker, and you're going to and then we'll put an S on the side. This is actually a capital S, but in this case, they look like the same shape, so you can't tell the difference. So do that on the front and pause right now. And when you're done, come back to me. Remember how I told you that some letters can make two sounds? Well, S is just like that. We're going to focus on S today and for a lot of future lessons. And then somewhere down the road, we'll talk about the second sound. But just so that we're being complete, we're going to write a number 2 beside the S because S does have two sounds. And on our card on the back, we're going to make a keyword and a picture to remember both sounds. You know the S sound very well. Maybe you want to draw a snake to represent that sound, S as in snake. But did you know that it can also make the Z sound as in zipper? You might not have ever realized this, but you say it all the time. So cats has that nice S sound, S as in snake. But then listen to this one. If I put an S on the word dog, I get dogs. Did you see what happened? The S sounded like a Z. So let's just separate our card. We're going to make a line on the back. Let's see that. And up here, let's have a keyword to help remember that it can sound like S. So I'm going to draw a snake because I think that's a good sound. You'll see that I'm not the greatest drawer, but that's okay. Here's my snake. And then I'm going to just make a little S in the corner, and your teacher can tell you the letters that you're going to use to write the word snake. Or you can do your own keyword that sounds like S. And then below, I'm going to put a Z because I know that S can sound like Z. And the cool thing about that is that when I say S and then I say Z, watch my lips and you'll see that nothing changes. The only difference is that one's motor on and one's motor off. Watch this. S, Z. Do you see that the only difference is that this one's vibrating? S, Z. You try it. And I'm going to use dogs as my keyword for this one. And I'll draw 2 stick dogs because we don't want to take a long time on this one. If you're an artist and you love to draw, you can do this for homework. But for now, we don't want to waste too much time on this. So there's my dogs. And your card's done. Great job. Now we're moving on to the magnetic letter tile drill. Can you get your magnetic letter tiles out? Okay, great. I'm going to tell you that we're going to make a word, and I'm going to give it to you sound by sound. So your first sound is S. What letter makes the sound S? Can you repeat that sound? And now find the letter tile that goes with that sound. And I want you to pull that to the middle. Do it right now, so it'll come to the work area in the middle. Okay, your teacher can check for you. Now let's do the second sound. The next sound in the word is ah. What letter makes the sound ah? Can you repeat the sound ah? Okay, now find the letter tile that goes with ah and pull it to the middle. So now you've got S, and right beside it you've got ah. Okay, the last sound, the third sound is T. What letter makes the sound T? Can you repeat the sound T? Okay, find the letter tile that goes with T and pull it to the middle. And now you've got 3 tiles in the middle. Now I want you to tap under each of the tiles and say the sounds they make. S, ah, T. And then underline it, blend the sounds together, and say the whole word. And your teacher can check for you. How'd you do? Let's try another one. So your first sound is S. What letter makes the sound S? Can you repeat that sound? Find the letter tile and bring it to the middle. And your second sound is ah. What letter makes the sound ah? Can you repeat that sound? Find the letter tile and bring it to the middle like you did before. And now this time the last sound is different. It's P. What letter makes the sound P? Find that tile and bring it to the middle. Can you repeat that sound? Okay, now it's time to tap it and say it. Tap each sound and then blend them together as you say the whole word. Okay, you'll see that teacher, as you're looking at the lesson plan teacher, you'll see that there's some extra words there. And you're just always conscious that you want to have about 15 minutes in each section of the lesson. So if you had time, you might do a third word. In this lesson, we won't do that though. So 15 minutes for drills, 15 minutes for reading, and 15 minutes for writing. The word list that you used previously in the lesson is the one that we're going to use today. And you're going to tap and say each word, and you can read the whole list. Do so now, and then come back. Last part of the reading section is we always do connected text. So you're going to read a couple sentences. If we use our imagination, we can probably imagine this as a whole story. And I do provide some pictures for you, but you won't look at them yet. That's the reward. So you're going to read the connected text first, and then we'll show you the pictures, and we can imagine what the story might be about. Do so now. How'd you like the pictures? I imagined that Sam was playing with the hose, and then maybe the hose got him, and they got into a big fight. Now it's time to move on to the writing section of our lesson. You'll need your magnetic letter tiles, so let's get them out again. I'm going to tell you that your word is sap. Can you repeat that word? What is sap? Can you use that in a sentence for me? Do that with your teacher now. Okay, so what is the first sound that you hear in sap? Find that sound and bring it to the middle. Do so now. Okay, what's the second sound that you hear in sap? Find the letter tile that symbolizes that sound and bring it to the middle. Okay, what's the third sound that you hear in sap? Find the letter tile and bring it to the middle. Now, tap each sound, say each sound as you do that, then underline it and blend the whole word together and say the whole word. Great job. Now the last step is I would like you to take out your pencil and your lined paper, and I would like you to write down the word sap. Come back to me when you're done. You have your paper and your pencil out, so let's keep using them. In this activity, I'm going to tell you a word, and instead of making them with magnetic letter tiles and then writing them, what you're going to do is you're going to trace them on your body and say the sound, and then you're going to write them with your pencil. So I'm going to use my hand. You could use your leg, you could use your arm, whatever you're thinking. So if we were using that word sap, then I would say S, and I would make the actual letter on my hand, A, P, and then I would try and write it down. So let's try one. Your word is sat, as in I sat down on the ground. Sat. So on a part of your body, you're going to trace each sound, the letter that goes with the sound, and you're going to make the sound as you do it, and then you'll try and write it down. Do so now. How'd you do? I'm going to show you a different technique that we can use, and this one's called tapping. So if I said your word is pat, we could go like this, and just with our thumb is going to be the constant here. We're going to tap our different fingers against our thumb. So we could say p, a, t, and then we pull from left to right and we say the whole word, pat. You try that one. P, a, t, pat. And now try and write it on your paper. So you've learned two different ways to help sound out the different words. You could trace on your body as you say the sound and then write it down, or you could tap it out this way. Why don't you choose the method that you would like to try out, either tapping or tracing? And here's your word, tap. Use your method and then write it in your notebook. It's the last part of the lesson. We're going to write some connected text. That means sentences. There'll be two sentences that you're going to write. Here's the first one. The tap sat on Sam. Can you repeat that sentence for me? Okay. Here it is again, and this time you're going to try and write it. Remember that you can tap it out or trace it out when you need to sound them out. The tap sat on Sam. Write it now. Okay, we'll pause here. When you're finished, I'm guessing you're coming back to me now. We're going to check our work on our first sentence. So the first thing we're doing is we're looking for, did you put a capital? When you start the sentence, the first word always gets a capital. So did you capitalize the T on the? And then there's another word in this sentence that needs a capital too. A person's name always gets capitalized. So the word Sam should have a capital S. The next thing we look at is your handwriting. How do you feel about your handwriting? Do you think it's tidy? Was it messy? How was your spacing? We want to have about a finger space in between each word. Okay, the next thing we do is you read it out loud. So read out your own sentence from your own paper. And next is punctuation. Did you have a period at the end of the sentence? If not, add it now. And the last thing that you're going to do is you're going to check the spelling. So your teacher will give you the sheet and just show you that first sentence. And you can check word by word. The is a fair word now because we've worked on it in the sight word study method. And how did you do? There's one more sentence, and it's on the same page, and your teacher can read it out for you and follow the method here, and then come back to me when you're finished. So I'll pause here now. Okay, I'm going to say you're back, and all we have to do now is a quick review. So let's hit the highlights. What did we learn today? Well, we learned about the short vowels. Do you remember the different short vowels? We have keywords to help us remember. So they were, let's see if you remember. We had A, E, I, O, and U. Did you remember all of them? And then there's this guy, the Y, who is sometimes a vowel. We have a little song that we use to remember when he's a vowel. When he is at the start of a word, he is acting as a consonant. That means there's something stopping his sound. It's not just an open sound. And when he's acting as a consonant, he says, do you remember? Y. So this word is y, et, yet. And we say, A, E, I, O, U are vowels that I know you've heard, but Y is only a vowel when it's not at the start of a word. And that's how we remember that when Y is at the start of the word, it's not a vowel. It's acting as a consonant. And the vowels that we learned about were A, E, I, O, and U. Apple, Eddie, itchy, olive, up. We also learned about S. That was the sound of S. Great job. That was lesson number 1. I look forward to seeing you again in lesson number 2. Bye for now. This is Shawna from the Flying Cat Academy.